Captain John Collins stared at the main view screen of his small scout ship, the UES Horizon. The vast emptiness of space stretched before him, interrupted only by the distant twinkle of stars. He ran his hand through his short brown hair and sighed. This patrol mission along the edge of human territory was supposed to be routine. "Captain, I'm picking up some unusual energy readings," said Eric Miller, the ship's sensor operator. His fingers flew across the control panel. "They're unlike anything in our database." John leaned forward in his command chair. "Distance?" "About 3 million kilometers, sir. Just beyond the asteroid belt of the system. Put it on screen. Maximum magnification." The view screen flickered, and John's breath caught in his throat. A massive fleet of ships hung in space like a swarm of metal insects. Their hulls gleamed with a bluish-purple sheen that seemed to absorb the starlight around them. The vessels were sleek and predatory in design, nothing like the blocky, practical ships of the United Earth Defense Force. "Are they detecting us?" John asked, his voice low and steady despite the hammering of his heart. "I don't think so, sir. We're still in the shadow of the gas giant. Our thermal signature is masked," John nodded. "How many ships are we looking at?" Eric swallowed hard. "At least 200, sir. Maybe more. The largest one in the center it's almost 2 kilometers long." "An invasion fleet," whispered Paula Sanchez, the navigation officer. Her dark eyes were wide with fear. "They have to be heading for Earth." John took a deep breath. The UE's Horizon was a scout vessel with minimal weapons and a crew of only 12. They couldn't fight this force, but they had to warn Earth. "Paula, plot a course back to Earth, maximum speed. Eric, download all sensor data on those ships. Greg, power down all non-essential systems. We're going to slip away nice and quiet." The crew moved with practiced efficiency, though John could see the tension in their movements. The Horizon began to drift slowly away from its hiding place, thrusters on minimal power. "Sir," Eric's voice was sharp with alarm. "They've launched small craft, fast movers, heading in our direction." John cursed under his breath. "They've spotted us. Paula, forget subtle. Maximum acceleration. Greg, divert all power to engines and shields." The Horizon lurched as its engines fired at full capacity. The small ship shot forward, racing away from the alien fleet. On the view screen, John could see 5 smaller craft in pursuit, gaining quickly. "They're faster than us," Paula reported. "Intercept in 3 minutes." John studied the tactical display, mind racing. Directly ahead was a dense asteroid field, normally something to be avoided, but now perhaps their only chance. "Paula, take. You send to the asteroid field. Greg, ready the mining charges." "The mining charges?" Greg looked confused. "Sir, those aren't weapons. Today they are," John said grimly. "Load them into the sample collection tubes." The Horizon plunged into the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks. The pursuing craft followed, their superior speed now a disadvantage as they struggled to match the human ship's tight maneuvers. "Release charges on my mark," John ordered as they approached a cluster of particularly large asteroids. "Now." The mining charges designed to break up asteroids for mineral sampling detonated behind them. The explosion wasn't large, but it was enough to send dozens of asteroid fragments hurtling in all directions. 2 of the pursuing craft were hit directly, spinning out of control. A third had to veer sharply away, colliding with an asteroid. 2. "Still on our tail," Eric reported. John nodded. "Paula, bring us around that large asteroid at bearing 047. Full thrust on my mark, then cut engines." The Horizon swung around the massive space rock. The moment they were out of sight of their pursuers, John gave the command. Now, the ship shot forward, then went dark, drifting with its momentum. Seconds later, the two alien craft rounded the asteroid, scanning for their prey. John held his breath as they passed within 100 meters of the horizon. "They didn't see us," Eric whispered. "Not yet," John replied. "Greg, target the nearest ship with our sample laser. Aim for what looks like their engine section." The sample laser was meant for cutting small pieces from asteroids, not for combat. But at this range, focused on a single point ... fire. A thin beam of concentrated light struck the alien craft. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a small explosion blossomed where the beam had hit. The craft began to spin, leaking some kind of blue vapor. The second alien vessel immediately turned. Weapons powering up. Paula full power. "Get us out of this field." The Horizon's engines roared to life again as energy blasts from the alien ship narrowly missed them. The human vessel zigzagged through the asteroid field, using the space rocks as cover. "They're calling for reinforcements," Eric warned. "I'm picking up communications." "Almost clear," Paula called out. 10 seconds to clear space." Those 10 seconds felt like an eternity. Energy blasts flashed past the ship, one grazing their shields and causing the lights to flicker. Then they were clear, open space ahead of them. "Jump to FTL," John ordered. The stars blurred as the horizon leapt into faster-than-light travel, leaving the alien fleet behind. 3 days later, John stood before the United Earth Defense Council, the highest military authority of humanity. The chamber was silent as the recording from the horizon played, showing the massive alien fleet. Admiral Wendy Clark, head of the council, looked grim. "Captain Collins, your report is disturbing. This is clearly a technologically superior force with hostile intent." "Yes, ma'am," John agreed. "But they're not invincible. Their smaller craft were vulnerable to our mining equipment, improvised as weapons. With proper military hardware, we might stand a chance." "A slim chance," remarked General Frank Peters, his face set in hard lines. "We're outnumbered and outgunned." "With respect, General," John said, "wars aren't always won by the biggest guns. Sometimes it's about using what you have in ways your enemy doesn't expect." Admiral Clark studied John thoughtfully. "You showed remarkable tactical thinking out there. Captain, what would you do if you were facing this fleet with our current forces?" John hesitated only briefly. "I'd use our knowledge of our own territory. Set traps, fight asymmetrically, make them pay for every inch of space." A small smile formed on Admiral Clark's face. "Congratulations, Admiral Collins." John blinked in surprise. "Ma'am? You've just been promoted. The defense of Earth is now your responsibility." She stood, and the other council members followed suit. "You have 1 week to prepare before that fleet arrives. Make it count." As John left the chamber, his mind was already racing with plans. He didn't know who these aliens were or why they had come, but he was determined to give them a welcome they'd never forget. Across the void of space, on the bridge of the massive flagship Eternal Dominion, Empress Zara of the Valkyrie Empire watched the recording of the small human ship's escape for the 3rd time. Her silver eyes narrowed with interest, and her bluish lips curved into a smile. "This human captain," she said to her commander, "I want him captured alive when we take their world." "As you wish, Empress," the commander bowed. "May I ask why?" Zara paused the recording on an image of John Collins from the ship's database. "Anyone who can evade 5 of our best pilots with a survey vessel deserves study. Perhaps these humans will provide more entertainment than our usual conquests." Little did she know just how much entertainment Admiral John Collins would provide in the days to come. Admiral John Collins stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station, studying the holographic map of the solar system. Red dots representing the approaching Valkyrie fleet moved steadily toward Earth. blue dots showing human ships, seemed pathetically few in comparison. "They'll be here in less than 24 hours, said Lisa Wright, his newly appointed second-in-command. She was a tall woman with short blonde hair and eyes that missed nothing. "The evacuation of coastal cities is underway, but there's no way we'll get everyone to the shelters in time." John nodded grimly. "Then we need to make sure those ships never reach Earth." He zoomed in on the asteroid belt that lay between Mars and Jupiter. "This is where we'll make our stand." Lisa looked confused. "The asteroid belt? But that's not a defensible position. Our fleet will be scattered, vulnerable." "Exactly." John smiled slightly. "They'll think we're desperate, disorganized. That's our advantage." Over the next several hours, John explained his plan to his officers. It was risky, unconventional, and their only hope. Earth ships, smaller and more maneuverable than the massive Valkyrie vessels, would hide among the asteroids. Meanwhile, engineering teams had been working around the clock to modify hundreds of mining charges into powerful bombs. "We're not fighting a traditional battle," John explained. "We're setting a trap." On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Empress Zara watched as her fleet approached the human solar system. Her silver eyes gleamed with anticipation. "Our scouts report that the humans have retreated to the asteroid field," reported Commander Vex, her most trusted officer. "Their formation is scattered, disorganized. As expected, they are no match for the glory of the Valkyrie Empire." Zara studied the tactical display with narrowed eyes. "This Admiral Collins. He escaped our pursuit vessels with a scout ship. I expected more." She sounded almost disappointed. "Perhaps his earlier success was merely luck," suggested Vex. "Shall the First order the fleet to advance through the asteroid field? We can crush their pitiful defense in one swift strike." Zara nodded. "Proceed, but remember, I want Collins captured alive." The Valkyrie fleet moved into the asteroid belt, their massive ships dwarfing the space rocks around them. From the bridge of his flagship, the UEC Defiance, John watched them come. "They're taking the bait," he said quietly. "All ships maintain position. Wait for my signal." Lisa Wright stood beside him, tension evident in her posture. The first wave of Valkyrie ships is passing checkpoint Alpha. John keyed his comm. "All units, prepare to execute Operation Thunderstrike on my mark." He waited until the enemy ships were deep within the asteroid field, surrounded by seemingly harmless space rocks. "Mark." Throughout the asteroid belt, hidden charges detonated. But these were no ordinary explosions. The modified mining bombs had been strategically placed to create chain reactions. Asteroids shattered, sending thousands of high-velocity fragments in all directions. The first wave of Valkyrie ships, caught by surprise, had no time to raise their shields. "Now," John ordered, "all ships engage." Human vessels burst from their hiding places, darting between asteroids with precision. They focused fire on the yaw, Valkyrie ships that had already been damaged by asteroid impacts. The smaller human vessels targeted engine sections and weapon systems before quickly retreating back into the cover of the asteroid field. On the Eternal Dominion, alarms blared as reports of damage flooded in. "Empress," Commander Vex's voice was strained. "We've lost 23 ships already. The humans, they've turned the asteroid field into a weapon." Zara gripped the arms of her command chair, silver eyes wide with surprise and growing respect. "So, the human admiral has teeth after all." She stood abruptly. "Order the fleet to fall back and regroup. We need to change our approach." But disengaging proved as difficult as advancing had been. As the Valkyrie ships tried to retreat, they faced the same hazards, now complicated by the human vessels that darted in to strike at vulnerable points before disappearing again. Lisa Wright led a squadron of fast attack ships directly against The Valkyrie communication relays. Target their cum arrays, she ordered her pilots. Let's cut off their heads from their bodies. Her ships swooped in, firing with precision. One by one, the communication systems of the Valkyrie subfleets went dark, leaving them unable to coordinate their retreat. John watched from the Defiance, directing the battle with calm efficiency. Activate the defense network, he ordered. Across the asteroid belt, hidden defense platforms installed years ago as a precaution against piracy powered up and added their firepower to the chaos. The Valkyrie, now under attack from all sides, began to break formation. Hours passed. A battle raged throughout the asteroid field. Human ships took losses too, but for every Earth vessel destroyed, 5 Valkyrie ships were disabled or destroyed. By the time the surviving Valkyrie ships managed to retreat to a safe distance, nearly half their fleet lay in ruins among the asteroids. In the aftermath, Lisa Wright found John in his ready room aboard the Defiance. "We did it," she said, her face showing both exhaustion and exhilaration. "The Valkyrie fleet is in retreat. Earth is safe, at least for now." John looked up from his tactical display. "We won the battle, Lisa, but the war is just beginning." He pointed to the display, where the remaining Valkyrie ships had regrouped at the edge of the solar system. "They'll be back with new tactics. And next time, they'll be ready for our tricks." On the Eternal Dominion, Empress Zara stood alone in her private chamber, watching recordings of the battle. She focused on the movements of the human flagship, studying its tactics with intense interest. A chime announced Commander Vex's arrival. He entered and bowed deeply. "Empress, forgive our failure. We underestimated the humans." "No, Vex," Zara replied, her voice soft but dangerous. "I underestimated one human in particular." She gestured to the image of the Defiance, executing a daring maneuver between 2 asteroids. "This Admiral Collins. He is unlike any opponent we have faced before. The fleet awaits your orders, Empress. Shall we withdraw to gather reinforcements?" Zara's silver eyes flashed. "Withdraw? No, I will take personal command of the fleet." She turned from the display, her decision made. "Admiral Collins has shown me something I have not seen in centuries of conquest, a worthy challenge. I will not rest until he kneels before me." Vex hesitated. "And Earth?" "Earth will fall," Zara said dismissively. "But its Admiral. Him I want intact." A slow smile spread across her bluish lips. "He has earned my attention. Now let us see if he can survive it." As the Valkyrie regrouped for their next assault, neither John nor Empress Zara could have predicted how their contest of wills would transform both their civilizations forever. The next 3 months became a deadly game across the solar system. Admiral John Collins knew that Earth needed time to build more ships, time to develop new weapons, time to prepare for the next major Valkyrie assault. So he made a bold decision. "We can't just sit and wait for them to attack again," he told Lisa Wright as they stood on the bridge of the U.E.'s Defiance. "We need to keep them off balance, distracted." "What are you suggesting?" Lisa asked, though she already suspected. The answer: "I'm taking the Defiance and 3 other ships. We're going to hit their outposts, their supply lines, anything we can find. Make them chase us instead of planning another attack on Earth." Lisa frowned. "That's an incredibly risky strategy, John." "Risk is all we have," he replied simply. "You'll remain here to coordinate Earth's defenses. If I fail, you'll be humanity's last hope." 2 days later, the small human task force slipped past the Valkyrie picket ships and vanished into deep space. On the Eternal Dominion, Empress Zara received the news with surprising calm. "So," she said to Commander Vex, "the Admiral has decided to hunt rather than hide. Interesting. Our border outpost in the Taurus sector was destroyed yesterday," Vex reported. The attack bears his signature tactics: quick, precise strikes targeting communications and power systems. Zara's silver eyes gleamed. He's trying to draw us away from Earth. She smiled slightly. Let us oblige him. Prepare my personal battle. Cruiser, I will lead the hunt myself. Empress, is that wise? The fleet will continue preparations for the next assault on Earth, she interrupted. I want Admiral Collins. This has become personal, Vex. For the next 12 weeks, John led the Valkyrie on a maddening chase. His small group of ships struck suddenly, caused maximum damage, and disappeared before the enemy could mount an effective response. They destroyed supply depots, damaged shipyards, and even rescued alien slaves from Valkyrie labor camps. With each successful raid, they learned more about Valkyrie technology and tactics. John ordered all captured tech sent back to Earth whenever possible, giving human scientists precious examples to study and reverse-engineer. Meanwhile, Empress Zara pursued with growing determination. Each near miss, each destroyed outpost, each report of the human admiral's exploits only intensified her obsession. He thinks like no opponent I've ever faced, she confessed to Vex during a rare moment of candor. These humans were supposed to be primitive, easy prey. Instead, I find myself matched against an equal. Not an equal, Empress, Vex corrected quickly. No species equals the Valkyrie. Zara gave him a cold look. You still don't understand, do you? This isn't about species. It's about him. Admiral Collins sees patterns where others see chaos. He anticipates moves I haven't even decided to make. She turned back to the star map. Where will you strike next, Admiral? Show me. On the UES Defiance, John was planning his most daring raid, yet an attack on a major Valkyrie fuel processing facility in the Rigel system. Intelligence gathered from previous raids suggested it was a critical link in their supply chain. The facility is heavily guarded, he told his officers during the briefing. But if we approach through the system's dense nebula, we can mask our signature until we're almost on top of them. The plan was set. The 4 human ships entered the nebula, navigating carefully through the dense clouds of gas and dust. The Defiance led the way, sensors straining to map a safe path. What they didn't know was that Empress Zara had anticipated this move. After studying John's tactics for months, she had placed hidden sensors throughout the nebula and positioned her battle cruiser and 4 support ships just beyond the facility. He's coming, she told her crew with certainty. Prepare the gravitational net. The human ships emerged from the nebula, weapons ready, only to find themselves caught in a powerful gravity field that slowed them to a crawl. Valkyrie ships appeared. From behind the facility's moon, weapons already firing. Evasive maneuvers? John ordered, but the Defiance responded sluggishly in the gravity net. Return fire. Target their emitters. The battle was fierce, but brief. The human ships, trapped and outgunned, suffered heavy damage. 2 were destroyed outright. The third, commanded by Captain Alan Foster, managed to break free of the gravity net and escape back into the nebula. Though badly damaged, the Defiance was not so fortunate. Multiple hits disabled its engines and weapons. Life support systems flickered as the ship drifted helplessly. Admiral, reported his tactical officer. The enemy has stopped firing. They're hailing us. John straightened his uniform and nodded. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing the face of his opponent for the first time. Empress Zara's skin had a faint bluish tint, and her silver eyes seemed to look right through him. Despite the alien features, John could read the expression clearly. Triumph. Admiral Collins, she said, her voice melodious despite the translator's mechanical overtones. At last we meet. Empress, John replied with a calm he didn't entirely feel. I'd say it's a pleasure, but under the circumstances, ... A smile flickered across Zara's face. You've led me on quite a chase. Destroyed 12 outposts, damaged 3 shipyards, and freed slaves from 5 worlds. Impressive for a primitive human. We're full of surprises. Indeed, your ship is disabled. Your crew is at my mercy, yet you show no fear. Why? John met her gaze steadily. Because Captain Foster's ship got away. Because every day I've kept you chasing me is another day Earth has had to prepare. And because you haven't killed me yet, which means you want something. Zara's smile widened. Perceptive. Prepare to be boarded, Admiral. I believe we have much to discuss. Lisa Wright was overseeing defense drills when the badly damaged ship limped into Earth orbit. Captain Foster was rushed to medical, but insisted on speaking to her first. They got him, Foster said, his voice weak from his injuries. They got the Admiral, but he gave us time, Lisa. 3 months of time. Lisa's face hardened, and we've used it well. She turned to her aide. Show him. The aide brought up images on a nearby screen. Shipyards filled with vessels under construction. New defense platforms being deployed throughout the system. And laboratories where scientists worked on reverse-engineered Valkyrie technology. Earth is ready, Lisa said firmly. And we're not going to abandon John. I promise you that. On the Eternal Dominion, John Collins was led in restraints to Empress, Zara's private audience chamber. The guards left them alone, the door sliding shut with a final sounding hiss. Zara circled him slowly, studying him with undisguised curiosity. I expected someone. Larger, she said finally. Sorry to disappoint, John replied dryly. Oh, you haven't disappointed, Admiral. Quite the contrary. She stopped in front of him. I've conquered 12 species across 3 galactic sectors. None have provided the challenge you have. None have inflicted the losses you have. Her voice dropped slightly. I want to understand how. John raised an eyebrow. You want to understand how to defeat Earth. Perhaps, Zara's silver eyes gleamed. Or perhaps I simply want to understand you. And so began the strangest phase of their contest, a battle not of ships and weapons, but of minds and wills. Neither could have predicted where it would lead or how it would change them both. Days turned into weeks aboard the Eternal Dominion. John Collins was not treated like a typical prisoner. His quarters, while secure, were spacious and comfortable. He was allowed access to certain areas of the ship under guard and daily conversations. With Empress Zara became routine. These conversations were unlike anything John had expected. Rather than interrogations, they were more like a battle of minds, each probing for weaknesses while revealing just enough to keep the other talking. Your species has existed for such a short time, Zara remarked one day as they stood before a large viewport overlooking the stars. How is it possible you've advanced so quickly? John considered his answer carefully. Necessity. Adaptation. For most of our history, we fought each other. We became very good at finding new ways to gain advantage. And now you use those skills against us. There was no anger in her voice, only curiosity. You didn't leave us much choice. Zara turned to face him. There is always choice, Admiral. Your people could have surrendered. Others have. That's not who we are. A small smile touched Zara's lips. No, I'm beginning to understand that. Over time, John learned much about the Valkyrie. They were an ancient species who had expanded through conquest for millennia, but their empire was not as stable as it appeared. Resources grow scarce in our home sectors, Zara explained during another conversation. And there are threats beyond our borders that your people know nothing about. So you conquer to survive, John said, understanding dawning. We conquer because we must, she corrected. The alternative is extinction. Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Wright faced mounting pressure. The government wanted to use their new technologies and ships to strike at the Valkyrie immediately. We should attack while they're still recovering from John's raids, urged General Sam Peters during a tense meeting of the Defense Council. Lisa shook her head. John bought us time for a reason. We need to use it wisely, not rush into another battle. And what about Collins himself? Asked Counselor Maria Alvarez. Are we just going to abandon him to the enemy? Never, Lisa said firmly. But rescuing him means nothing if we lose Earth in the process. She stood and addressed the entire council. Give me 2 more weeks. The new weapon systems will be fully integrated by then, and I have a plan to find exactly where they're holding him. On the Eternal Dominion, trouble was brewing. Commander Vex entered Zara's private chambers without waiting to be announced. Empress, the military council demands an audience. They question your handling of the human. Zara's silver eyes narrowed dangerously. The council forgets its place. Vex, they say you speak with him daily while our fleet sits idle. They say you delay the attack on Earth without reason. Vex lowered his voice. Some whisper that you have become fascinated by this human, and he influences you. Do they? Zara's voice was cold. And what do you say, my loyal commander? Vex hesitated. I say that in 3 centuries of service, I have never seen you show such interest in any conquered species. Perhaps because none have been worthy of interest. She turned away. Tell the council I will meet with them tomorrow. Now leave me. When Vex had gone, Zara sighed and touched a control panel. A holographic display showed John in his quarters, reading information about Valkyrie culture that she had provided. What am I doing with you, Admiral? She whispered the next day, as John was escorted to his usual meeting with Zara. Alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. His guards received urgent communications, then roughly changed direction. What's happening? John asked. Silence, human, one guard snapped. Back to your quarters. The Empress has more important matters now. In the council chamber, Zara faced an unexpected coup. Half the military council stood with Commander Vex. The fleet grows restless, Empress, Vex said. We have wasted months chasing a single human, while Earth builds its defenses. Now we receive reports they have begun to reverse engineer our technology. All the more reason to understand our enemy before attacking, Zara argued. No, Vex countered. The time for study is over. We must strike now, with overwhelming force. The human admiral has clouded your judgment. We vote to relieve you of command for this operation. Zara's hand moved to her weapon. You dare? For the good of the Empire, Vex said sadly. Guards, confine the Empress to her quarters until the Earth campaign is complete. The guards hesitated, torn between loyalty to their Empress and the authority of the military council. In that moment of uncertainty, the ship rocked with a massive explosion. Emergency lights flashed as artificial gravity fluctuated. We're under attack. Someone shouted. In his quarters, John felt the explosion and knew instantly what it meant. Earth had found him. He quickly moved to the door panel, using a technique he had secretly observed from his guards to short-circuit the lock. The door slid open. The corridor was chaos. Crew members rushed to battle stations, ignoring the lone human in the confusion. John moved with purpose. If this was a rescue attempt, he needed to reach a communication terminal to signal his location. Meanwhile, in Earth orbit, Lisa Wright stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned Hughes Avenger, the first ship built with integrated Valkyrie technology. Status of the strike team, she asked. They've breached the Eternal Dominion's outer hull, reported her tactical officer. Diversionary explosions were successful. They're proceeding to the prisoner section. Lisa nodded. Maintain our position at the edge of sensor range. Be ready to jump in can extract them on my mark. On the Valkyrie flagship, John had managed to reach a secondary control room. The single technician inside turned in surprise, but John quickly subdued him and accessed the terminal dot. Just as he began to input a message, the door slid open. John whirled, expecting guards, but instead found Empress Zara, alone and breathing hard. "You," she said. "I should have known Earth would not abandon you. Just as you should have known your council would turn on you," John replied, noting her disheveled appearance. A humorless smile touched her lips. "It seems we both face betrayal today." "Or opportunity," John suggested. To her questioning look, he explained, "Your council wants to destroy Earth. You want to save your empire. I think there might be a third option." "What option?" "Alliance." John stepped toward her. "Earth has resources. The Valkyrie have technology. Together, we might face these threats beyond your borders that you mentioned." Zara stared at him. "You would suggest alliance? After all we've done? War costs both sides. Peace could benefit both." Before she could respond, the ship rocked with another explosion, closer this time. "Your rescue party is persistent," Zara noted. "We humans usually are." John held her gaze. "The question is, what happens when they find us? Do we continue this war, or do we try something new?" For a long moment, Zara was silent. Then she straightened her posture, every inch the Empress once more. "If I help you contact your people, would they listen to such a proposal?" John smiled. "If it comes from both of us, they might." As human special forces fought their way through the Eternal Dominion, neither they nor the Valkyrie defenders could have imagined what was happening in that small control room. 2 leaders from enemy civilizations, laying the groundwork for a peace that would change the galaxy forever. Back on the UES Avenger, Lisa Wright received an unexpected transmission. Her eyes widened as she read it. "Ma'am?" Her communications officer asked. "Are those ... new orders for the strike team?" Lisa nodded slowly, scarcely believing what she was seeing. "Yes. Tell them the mission parameters have changed. Extraction now includes 2 VIPs. She looked up at her confused officers. "It seems Admiral Collins has been busy with more than just staying alive." The U's Avenger hung in space at a safe distance from the Valkyrie fleet. On its bridge, Lisa Wright paced nervously. The rescue team had gone silent for the past 20 minutes, and tensions were running high. "Any word from the strike team?" she asked her communications officer. "Nothing yet, Admiral," came the reply. "But we're picking up unusual movement in the Valkyrie fleet. Several ships appear to be powering weapons. They're turning to face the Eternal Dominion." Lisa frowned. "Put it on screen." The main view screen showed the massive Valkyrie flagship surrounded by smaller vessels. But instead of forming a protective formation, the smaller ships were positioning themselves as if to attack the flagship. "Something's wrong in their chain of command," Lisa murmured. "Prepare for emergency jump. If our team doesn't report in 5 minutes, we're going in." Aboard the Eternal Dominion, chaos reigned. The human strike team, led by Captain Alan Foster, had fought their way to the ship's detention level only to find John's cell empty. "Spread out," Foster ordered his team. "He has to be somewhere on this deck." As they moved through the corridors, they encountered surprisingly little resistance. Most of the Valkyrie crew seemed preoccupied with their own internal conflict. "Captain," called one of his soldiers, "I'm picking up a human life sign 2 decks." "Up in the command section." Foster nodded. "That's got to be the Admiral. Let's move." Meanwhile, in the ship's auxiliary command center, John and Zara worked quickly to secure their position. Zara's loyal guards had found them and now protected the entrance, while John used the ship's communication system to contact both fleets. "How many ships can you count on?" John asked as he worked. Zara's expression was grim. Perhaps a third of the fleet remains loyal to me. The rest follow Vex, or are waiting to see who wins. Then we need to even the odds, John replied. He finished his work on the console and stepped back. Message sent. Now we wait. For what? Zara asked. A miracle, John said with a slight smile. Or the next best thing Earth's new fleet. Zara raised an eyebrow. You've been busy during your captivity. So have you, John countered, questioning everything you've been taught about conquest and empire. Before she could respond, the door slid open. Captain Foster and his team rushed in, weapons raised, only to freeze at the sight of John standing calmly beside the Valkyrie. Empress? Admiral? Foster said uncertainly. We're here to rescue you. Good timing, Alan, John replied. But there's been a change of plans. We're not just leaving, we're taking the Empress with us. Foster's eyes widened. Sir? That's an order, Captain. And we need to hurry. Commander Vex and his loyalists are trying to seize control of the ship and the fleet. As if to emphasize his point, the ship rocked with an internal explosion. They've breached the main engine room, reported one of Zara's guards. We can't hold them off much longer. John turned to Foster. What's your extraction plan? Assault shuttle, docking bay 4, Foster replied. But it won't hold all of us plus her guards. We'll make it work, John said firmly. Let's move. The combined group humans and loyal Valkyrie fought their way down to docking bay 4. Twice they encountered Vex's forces, and both times the skill of Earth's special forces combined with the loyalty of Zara's guards won the day dot as they reached the bay. The ship's internal communications blared with Vex's voice. Attention all. Crew, the Empress has been corrupted by human influence and is attempting to escape with the enemy. Stop them at all costs. The future of the Valkyrie Empire depends on it. The assault shuttle was where Foster had left it, engines ready for immediate departure. As they approached, weapons fire erupted from the far side of the bay. Vex himself had arrived with a full squad of soldiers. Get to the shuttle, John shouted. We'll cover you. John, Zara, and several guards took positions behind cargo containers, returning fire while the others made for the shuttle. The air filled with energy bolts and the smell of ozone. Your empire ends here, Zara, Vex called across the bay. The council has spoken. The council does not rule the Valkyrie, Zara replied, her voice regal even in battle. I do, and I will not let you condemn our people to endless war. The firefight intensified. 2 of Zara's guards fell. Foster took a glancing hit to his shoulder, but made it to the shuttle. John and Zara were the last ones still outside, pinned down by increasingly accurate fire. We can't reach the shuttle, John said grimly. Too much open ground to cover. Zara looked at him, then at her fallen guards. She picked up one of their heavy weapons. I'll create a diversion. When I do, run for the shuttle. Not without you, John said firmly. A slight smile touched her lips. After all this, you still don't understand. A Valkyrie Empress never runs. Before he could stop her, she stood and fired a barrage at the ceiling above Vex's position, causing debris to rain down dot in the confusion. John grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the shuttle. And a human never leaves an ally behind. They sprinted across the open bay, energy bolts sizzling past them. Just as they reached the shuttle ramp, Vex emerged from the dust and debris, weapon raised. Zara, he shouted. She turned. Their eyes met for an instant. Then Vex fired. John moved without thinking, pushing Zara aside. The energy bolt caught him in the side, spinning him around. He fell to the shuttle ramp. John! Zara's voice held something no one had ever heard from an Empress before. Fear. She raised her weapon and fired a single precise shot. Vex crumpled to the ground. Then she helped drag John into the shuttle. "Go," she ordered Foster. "Get us to your ship." The shuttle blasted out of the bay as the Eternal Dominion shuddered with internal explosions. Vex's attack had damaged critical systems. Aboard the shuttle, Zara knelt beside John as a medic worked to stabilize him. "Foolish human," she said softly. "Why would you do that?" Despite the pain, John managed to smile. Alliance ... remember? Had to ... show good faith. The shuttle docked with the Avenger, just as the loyal portion of the Valkyrie fleet engaged Vex's ships. The Eternal Dominion, critically damaged, drifted between the two factions. On the Avenger's bridge, Lisa Wright watched in amazement as Zara strode in, followed by medics carrying John on a stretcher. "Admiral Wright," Zara said formally, "your admiral speaks highly of you. He believes our peoples can find peace instead of war. I am here to discuss terms." Lisa looked from the Valkyrie Empress to her injured friend. "John, is this what you want?" Despite his injury, John's voice was clear. "It's our best chance, Lisa, for both our peoples." Lisa nodded slowly, then turned to Zara. "Then let's talk, Empress." 6 months later, the Treaty of Earth was signed. The combined human-Valkyrie fleet patrolled their shared borders, preparing for threats that lurked in the darkness beyond. John, fully recovered, served as Earth's ambassador to the Valkyrie Empire, working closely with Empress Zara. Rumors spread throughout the galaxy about the human who had first defeated the mighty Valkyrie in battle, then somehow won their respect and partnership. Some whispered of a deeper connection between the Admiral and the Empress, especially after a formal ceremony where Zara shocked her court by referring to John as mine in the ancient Valkyrie tongue, a term traditionally reserved for royal consorts. When asked about this by a bold reporter, John simply smiled. "In a flash, she could have crushed our forces," he said. "Instead, we found a better way forward. Whatever she chooses to call me, I'm honored to stand with her." And as reports came in of a massive unknown fleet approaching from beyond known space, that partnership would soon face its greatest test together.